Welcome to our Big 7 Flip video. This is another division strategy. So please pause this video at any time if you need to, and remember, if you have any questions, you can ask one of your teachers. So get your homework sheet ready. Let's review some vocabulary. I have dividend. The number in a division problem that is to be divided are broken into equal parts. Divisor. This is the number in a division problem by which the dividend is divided. And quotient. This is the number that is the answer to a division problem. So write this down and pause this video, and I'm going to move on. Let's start with our numbers. I have 84 divided by 7. 84 is the dividend and 7 is the divisor. So I'm going to put 84 under the house and 7 goes on the outside of the house. And then I need to ask myself a question. How many times does 7 go into 84? Well, 7 goes into 84 about 10 times, which is 70. So I'm going to subtract 4, and 8 minus 7 is 1. So 7 times this number 10 that I put on the outside equals 70, which I put it underneath the house with the number 84, and I subtracted. And now I have the number 14. How many times does 7 go into 14? Well, I know that that's 2. So I know 7 times this 2 on the outside equals 14. And then I subtract and I get 0. Now these numbers over here on the outside need to be added together. And so that gives me 12. And 12 is my quotient, which goes on top of the house. So I started off with the easy basic fact so you could see the steps. Let's do this again. This number right here, this is the dividend. That goes under the house. This number right here is the divisor. That goes on the outside of the house, and that number is going to be 4. Now, how many times does 4 go into 87? Well, I know 4 times 10 is 40. 4 times 20 is 80. So I'm going to write 20 over here. 4 times 20 is 80. And I'm going to put that underneath here. And then I'm going to subtract. And I have 7 left. So about how many times could 4 go into 7? Well, I'm going to say not twice, because 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm going to say 1 time. So 4 times 1 is 4. And then I'm going to subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3. So as long as this number down here is smaller than my divisor, misspelled divisor, then I'm done. So I know that I'm going to add these two numbers over here on the side. That's 21. And from the last video, you know that this number down here is called your remainder. So I have a remainder of 3. So my answer to this problem is 21 remainder 3. And again, I can check that using multiplication. So 21 times 4 is 84 plus 3 is 87. And I got right back to my dividend. Let's do this again. This, again, is my dividend. And this is my divisor. So my dividend goes underneath my house of my big giant 7. That's why it's called the big 7, because this looks like a giant 7. And my divisor goes on the outside. So how many times does 4 go into 453? Well, 4 goes into 453. I'm going to start off with 100, because 4 times 100 is 400. And then I'm going to subtract. And that leaves me with 53. Now, how many times does 4 go into 53? Well, I know 4 times 10, I'm going to write over here, is 40. And then I can subtract again. And that leaves 13. So how many times does 4 go into 13? Well, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. So I'm going to put a 3 over here. Notice that I'm lining my numbers up with their place value. And that's 12. And I subtract and I have 1. My remainder has to be smaller than my divisor. And it is. So now I can add over here. So my answer is 113 with a remainder of 1. And if you really wanted to check, 113 times 4 is going to give me 452 plus my remainder over here of 1 gives me 453. So I know I'm correct. Let's go through those steps one more time. This right here is going to be my dividend. And he or she, whichever one you choose, lives under the house. And this number 2 is my divisor. And she lives on the outside of the house. Or he, if you choose. So I need to ask myself, how many times does 2 go into 273? Well, 2 goes into 273 about 100 times. 2 times 100 is 200. And then I can subtract. And that leaves me with 73. How many times does 2 go into 73? Well, 2 times 10 is 20. 2 times 20 is 40. 2 times 30 is 60. So I'm going to put 30 over here. 2 times 30 is 60. And I'm going to put 60 right here. And if you work this a different way, that's okay, because we all have different ways that our brain thinks. So that leaves me with 13. How many times does 2 go into 13? Well, I know 2 times 6 is 12. And I know that 12 minus 13 is 1. 1 is smaller than my divisor, so I am done and I have permission to add. And my answer is 136 with a remainder of 1. If I did 136 times 2, that gives me 272 plus 1, 273. So I know I'm correct. Let's do one last example. You should know by now, this is your dividend. This is your divisor. Dividend lives underneath the house. Divisor lives on the outside of the house. So, how many times does 8 go into 196? This isn't as easy as the last two, but I know that I can use 10, because 8 times 10, that's 80. And then I can subtract. Actually, I'm going to change that, because I know 8 times 20 is 160, and that just worked out even better for me. So, I'm going to put 160 under here. Then I'm going to write the 6. 9 minus 6 is 3. I'm left with 36, because 1 minus 1 is 0. So now I'm going to say, how many times does 8 go into 36? Well, 8 times 4 is 24. 8 times 4, is 32. And 8 times 5 is 40. So I'm going to go with 8 times 4, which is 32. And then I'm going to subtract. 6 minus 2 is 4. 3 minus 3 is 0, so I have 4 left. I'm going to add over here, because my remainder is smaller than my divisor, so 20 plus 4 is 24. So it's 24 remainder of 4. If I do 24 times 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 17, 18, 19. 192 plus 4 is 196. I checked it and I am correct. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this division strategy. Watch this video as much as you need to. Follow the steps of the big 7, because this looks like a big 7. And I have a little treat for you at the end. So, happy flipping!
It's time to wake up, people! This one goes out to teachers and students. It's time to get our learn on. And we got a lot to learn too. I don't know it all, but I know a few things. Science. You hear? You take up space, you matter. It's just science, man. Don't be a bully. Don't even be a bully to the bullies. It just makes more bullies. We can all be awful sometimes. We can all also be awesome. It's time to be more awesome. And that's what it's time for. History. We gotta study it so we don't repeat it. But if history does repeat itself, then I'm gonna name my pet dinosaur Reginald. I just hope he doesn't eat me. We can't just study history. We gotta make history. And history is made by ordinary people. Ordinary people like you and me. And that guy. The world's greatest thinkers. Confucius, Albert Einstein, Justin Timberlake. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like me. But I put my pants on one leg at a time while I'm dancing. You can go by. Yeah. You're gonna be in the video, bro. Life is school, and you gotta show up. You can't just sleep in. You can't be late. And you can't just hang out in the bathroom, that's girls. It's like Walt Whitman said, YOLO. Except he didn't say that, but you would know that if you would read a book, baby. Seriously, read a book, any book except the vampire ones. You wanna change the world? You gotta know about it. What if Shakespeare didn't go to school? His plays would be even more confusing. To be or not to be? Is that the question? I don't know what question is. I didn't go to school. Anybody? Help me out here. I got a question for you. What are you teaching the world? How to be boring? How to make the world sad? No, you're not. We're teaching the world what it looks like to be awesome. No matter who you are, somebody's learning from you. Everybody's a teacher and everybody's a student. Look for the awesome. Teachers see things. They see when you're running down the hall. They see when you're passing notes. But they also see the person that we can all become someday. A writer or a speaker or Martin Luther King. Teachers, keep teaching. Students, keep studying. That's not a word. Sorry about that. Here's to teachers that see the awesome. Your homework is this. What do you want to teach the world? Do it. Let's make some history together. Because it's simple math. Together, we're better. Those drills are a little too loud. If their teacher inspires you, let them know. This is for teachers everywhere, so share it with them. We gotta make the world awesome. Somebody's learning from you. I'm out. Get to learn